Chair thanks the gentleman and is pleased now to recognize the ranking member of the Subcommittee on Immigration and Border Security, the gentlewoman from California, Ms. Lofgren, for her opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The bill that we're considering today is not unfamiliar to many of us on the committee. The Immigration Subcommittee has held many hearings over the years about E-Verify, and the committee marked up the Legal Workforce Act 2 years ago, although it did not, was never taken up in the House. As I noted last month when we held a legislative hearing on this bill, the version we're considering contains several improvements over the version offered in the last Congress. For instance, when we marked up the bill in the last Congress, the bill exempted returning seasonal farm workers from having to be verified upon hire. This gigantic loophole came under attack from all sides. From the right, it was attacked as amnesty. From the left, it was attacked as an admission that E-Verify alone would destroy our agricultural industry and the millions of jobs held by U.S. workers that are supported by that industry. The committee struck this provision from the bill during markup, and I'm glad to see it is omitted from this version. The bill in the last Congress also created new criminal penalties for unlawful conduct that were both excessive and wasteful. In addition to imposing multiple mandatory minimum prison terms, the bill made it a felony punishable by up to 15 years in prison for a person to use a Social Security number that did not belong to him or her during the employment verification process. The version of the bill before us improves a number of the criminal provisions pertaining to fraud and misuse of documents, but still creates one mandatory minimum prison term. I'm pleased to see that the Chairman's manager's amendment would actually remove this last inefficient and unfair provision. Finally, this version contains some changes designed to make E-Verify a bit more workable for the Social Security Administration, which obviously serves a number of other critically important functions. Having said that, today's bill contains several of the greatest flaws of the bill we considered in the last Congress. The first and most important is it continues to provide no meaningful due process protections for authorized workers, including American citizens, who lose their jobs because of erroneous final non-confirmations by the government. The idea that Americans and legal immigrants could lose their jobs as a result of this bill is not simply theoretical. Although we know that the government continues to work hard to reduce error rates in E-Verify, errors absolutely still exist. Under this bill, people would lose their jobs and become effectively unemployable for an indeterminate length of time because of such government errors, and they would have no meaningful recourse. The bill also provides no penalties at all for employers who violate the requirement that they inform an employee about a tentative non-confirmation and give that employee an opportunity to contest the TNC. The absence of any consequences renders the notice requirement completely toothless. And I think today's markup provides an opportunity for members to discuss how to design an effective and fair E-Verify system. I think, as Mr. Conyers has said, however, we can be clear that we can only do E-Verify together with other necessary reforms of our broken system. You could design an E-Verify system that was perfect, 100% easy to use, 100% accurate, at virtually no cost to big or small businesses. But if we impose that system nationwide and did nothing to fix our broken immigration system, the consequences would be a disaster. I'm not going to belabor this point because we have gone over it so many times, but I'll simply say that without top-to-bottom reform of our immigration laws, expanding E-Verify would devastate the ag industry, result in closed farms, a less secure America, and the mass offshoring of millions and millions of U.S. jobs, including all the upstream and downstream jobs created and supported by our agricultural industry. And finally, I'd like to point out the financial consequences. Expanding E-Verify without doing more about fixing our immigration laws would cost the government significant tax revenues. In 2008, the Congressional Budget Office and the Joint Committee on Taxation concluded that mandatory E-Verify that was included in Representative Heath Shuler's SAVE Act would decrease federal revenues by $17.3 billion. Those two offices determined that expanding E-Verify to an economy with a significant undocumented workforce would drive employers and workers off the books and into the underground economy. Compare that with the CBO's recent finding that the Senate immigration reform bill will decrease the U.S. deficit by $175 billion over the next 10 years and by an additional over $700 billion over the following 10 years. I believe that E-Verify is going to play an important role in helping to fix our immigration system, so I appreciate the proposal by Representative Smith, but our job will not be done if we simply fix some of the most glaring omissions in this bill and report it to the House floor. We need to fix the underlying problems with our broken immigration system, including the presence of 11 million undocumented immigrants looking for a way to get right with the law, and we've yet to see a proposal that even touches on that point. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.